All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get right into Root Slush versus FXO Moonglade. This is going to be a Zerg versus Zerg starting off on Backwater Gulch. Game number 1 of this best of 3 for the NASL Division 3.
And here we go, starting the game up. Game timer again. This is going to be a Zerg versus Zerg. I'm really interested to see the clash of these styles, as both of them are kind of very aggressive players going into this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the nature of Zerg. You have to be a little bit aggressive, but certainly Slush takes the cake in terms of aggression. This guy actually will come at you in very unconventional ways. Moonglade is a bit of an anomaly for a lot of us North American players, I would say even European players to a certain extent, but that does not make him any kind of slouch whatsoever. Look at that manner. Good luck, have fun, mate. True to his Australian ways. In the top, well actually, okay, top right-hand corner we do have the blue Zerg, FXO Moonglade, hailing from Australia, and in the lower right-hand corner, the French-Canadian from Team Root, Root Slush. Now, Greetorp, we've seen a lot of Root Slush play. We've talked a lot about how he's kind of a wild card, but let's talk about ZVZ on this map in particular. What do you think? I mean, there's a lot of big ramps, kind of a lot of open areas. I feel like this is a big Ling or Roach kind of map.
Yeah, I mean, especially at the beginning, there's actually a lot of different styles to open up at the beginning. You can do 15 hatch, but actually 10 pool works extremely well as well if you're going up against a 15 hatch. I've seen actually a lot of players taking gold expansions if they do early game aggression, because the gold expansion is so close, and especially it's right outside your natural, right over here. So it can be defended. It's a little bit harder, but once you start yielding out those minerals, it makes a dramatic difference.
We do have Moonglade's drone making its way to the lower right-hand corner, so we'll actually scout out Slush in a timely fashion. However, his Overlord is heading in the other direction. Here we go. It is now entering that field, saying, okay, spawning pool is going up, which seems to be a bit of a standard, as Moonglade's spawning pool does go down almost at the exact same time. It is a little bit later, but that fluctuation is actually not going to be that big of a deal. If anything, it's actually an advantage for Moonglade, because it's just that little bit of extra time that his drone was left on the mineral line mining. Now, Moonglade is bringing in the gas already. That is, again, a bit of a difference from Slush. Slush is actually a little bit behind in terms of the gas. But I'm not too surprised to see spawning pools first. This natural area is a bit of a ways away from the main. It's more than one creep tumor. It's probably several, actually, to connect the two. So aggression would be pretty susceptible to victory, I would say, in the early portions of this game if they were to go hatch first.
Yeah, that's why we can see it's extremely important to get that gas up to be able to get that metabolic boost. Actually, Slush, switching around, going to be getting the Roach's Warren. So the Roach Warren is going to probably just to clamp down this outside ramp. It's really nice to just stay in position.
And Moonglade's really at exactly 100 gas, too. He's actually just going Speedling. I've heard about this. I think it's Speedling Expand. And I think that's pretty, at least at this stage, advantageous for what Slush is doing. Lings counter Roaches fairly well if you make a million of them. The danger here, though, is that if you switch to Baneling with those Roaches, I don't care how many Lings you make, you are absolutely rocked. You are in a lot of trouble. So the Roaches could be defensive, just trying to establish that expansion. We'll kind of see here. An expansion does go down for Moonglade at that natural location. And then we do have Lings kind of streaming their way across the map while there's no units out for Slush just yet. But we do have 3 Roaches nearing completion. And here's some gameplay that I really like, too. Notice how the Overlords are creeping their way into proper positions across the map between the two players. Queens are the anti-air force for right now. And you want to have those Overlords kind of creating a network of information allowing you to see, okay, he's coming after me, or no, he's not. So both those players are pretty hip to that standard.
Yeah, we can see that these Zerglings trying to get in here, but the Roaches are accurately positioned. I love this SimCity from Slush. He is going to be extremely safe. Again, this Roach's Warren and the spawning pool is going to be able to just cut a lot of the pathways that these Zerglings can take. Now, as Metabolic has finished for Moonglade, he's going to be able to just come around here, but with the range of these individual Roaches, they're going to be able to...
Oh, going for the surround! And they do get 2 Roaches, but then they pull back immediately, doing little damage to those Roaches, and they will regenerate their health. So a bit of an exchange here fairly early, and again, Slush is just piling out those Roaches. Kind of a moment of danger there for Moonglade, I would say. I mean, it looked like he went for the surround, but immediately recognized, okay, I'm not going to have too much success here, I got to back off.
Indeed, he needs to keep that Zergling count up. as much as possible. Now, what Moonglade needs to do right now, he either needs to get a ton of Zerglings and always scale with his opponent, or he needs to be switching over to a Roach's Warren extremely fast. But we do see him just getting a ton of Zerglings, actually.
He's just making 1 million Zerglings. He's just making more. I mean, there's no drones even. I'm wondering if this is like spilling over on a kind of an all-in, anticipating the expansion from Slush. And there we go. He's got that information. So if you check his vision, actually, he did see that hatchery. And here we go. He's actually going to launch right into action. Ling's moving forward, but I feel like he's just going to donate 1 and almost 2. But then Slush snipes his own Roach in his movement. So a little bit of a misclick there. Here come the Lings. And Moonglade wants it. He's trying to get a reaction from the Zerg.
Ooh,
but he's got Lings in the flank, and Moonglade sees this and shouldn't like it. Look at the health on the hatchery, though. And it will go down, but actually a cancellation from Slush. Very good play. And here he is trying to get up that ramp.
Oh, he's going to get up
But
there.
these Lings, I don't know. 2 Roaches have been abandoned at the base of the ramp, and they can't get up that ramp. Just good positioning from those Roaches. But they did get the cancellation. And still, 20 more Zerglings being made, and now finally drones from Moonglade. So it's pretty evident that his game plan was absolutely cancel or attack that expansion.
Yeah.
And then fall back on your macro if the game still goes on any further.
Yeah, we can see Slush actually, I think mistakenly, actually had made a lot of overlords. We can see 66 supply, total supply. He's only at 41 though, so he does have a lot of inefficiency in the amount of supply he has. Now a huge group of Zerglings are going to be able to come in here.
Oh, wow.
Going to be able to surround all the Roaches. The Roaches do look like they're under a lot of firing. Does look like they're going to go down. Moonglade is going to look like he's going to be taking a huge advantage in this first.
No.
What happened?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Everyone send your positive thoughts.
BattleNet! Ah!
Can't. It might have dropped. Well, I think it says both of us, doesn't it?
Yeah. I don't think we're
no.
going to have a regame.
No.
No.
Well, let's give it a second. Sometimes it comes back. Really unfortunate to have to deal with this stuff, but that is battle. You know, it is the nature of an online game. If we could have Moonglade sitting here with us across from the French-Canadian Slush, then we absolutely would. Hopefully, in the near future, we can kind of get that stuff going. But all right, I'm not seeing any fluctuation whatsoever, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the drop button.
That did a lot.
Okay, so Slush, actually, I'm talking to him right now, and he's saying that he understands in watching the replay that he was beat. So he's going to lose that first game. It's very unfortunate to not have to actually see it finish out, and we're very sorry about that. Everyone dropped, so it must have been kind of a BattleNet thing. So we're just going to go into Game 2. The fact of the matter is that Moonglade had more drones, he had an expansion up, and he had a far and away more significantly stronger army. I think, you know, he had 20-some-odd Lings, whereas Slush had 0 but was producing 12. So could he have held off the attack? Perhaps, but probably not. There was more Lings streaming in. I think Moonglade had something like twice the production, a better economy, and a bigger army. And when a disconnect like that occurs, as long as there's a really strong advantage for one player over the other, you unfortunately have to call it in favor of the advantage player. So as a courtesy, I talked to Slush to make sure that he's comfortable with that and he understands, and he's actually the one that said, I understand, you know, I take the loss for that, I completely understand. So kudos to Root Slush, true manor bear. That's actually hugely awesome of him. We're all competitors. I mean, a disconnect leaves a really sick feeling in your throat. You don't like that. You want to lose under your own merit, or you want to win under your own merit. So even Moonglade got robbed of the actual victory, I would say, seeing his opponent concede. So very unfortunate, and guys, we're sorry for that for you as observers, but you know what? There's nothing we can do about it. We just have to move on and accept it for what it is. So let's go into game number 2 here, and we're just going to set that up and get it underway, and hopefully that sacrificial first game will appease the disconnect gods, as it were. Alright, so players are ready. The countdown screen has started. It's going to be game number 2 of this best of 3 with FXO Moonglade leading 1-0 over Roots Slush. The map is Taldaram Altar. This is the big macro map. And in ZVZ, that can add a lot of problems.
Definitely. We don't get to see a lot of longer games, so Taldaram Altar is going to allow us to possibly get into that later stage of the game. Do keep in mind, there is no big ramp. There is no huge way to be able to get a solid defense against some massive Zerglings. So both these players have to be careful about that. We're going to see how they go ahead and start to adapt to this individual map.
Yeah, that speedling opening that Moonglade showed last game, actually, I feel like would be pretty strong on this map as well, just because, exactly like you said, there is a ramp, but it's kind of a bigger, more wide open one. And going into the main, there actually is no ramp. It's just kind of this narrow space, if you will, and that actually doesn't advantage the defender as much. Of course, there is a slight advantage in just that you're able to kind of get the concave earlier. But we'll see. I mean, in the top right-hand corner, I guess we'll just go ahead and talk about the position of the players. Is the orange Zerg, Roots Slush. He is trailing 0-1 to FXO Moonglade, who is morphing in at the lower right-hand corner as the purple Zerg. This is a best of 3, so Slush has to win this match to survive. This is group play, though, so a lot of people had actually commented on they'd like to hear more about kind of what these matches represent. This is just the first week, so no one lives or dies, as far as we know, off of these matchups, but in a short, not 10-week schedule, okay, groups of 10, they're only playing 9 other people, you need to make absolutely sure that you take every single best of 3 very seriously. Because you don't want to have a situation at the end of the season where you're like, man, if I would have won that one best of 3, then I would be in the playoffs. I would make it into that top 16. So both these players are very, very much so aware of what's at stake.
We can already see that Moonglade has kind of diverged. Yet again, going the very early extractor before the spawning pool, going to be able to start mining there before the spawning pool even starts. Whereas Slush is continuing to do the same thing, just spawning pool and extractor at the same time.
Mirror openings.
So again, Moonglade is going to have the very fast metabolic boost, whereas Slush, he's going to have to lag a little bit. He's going to be a little bit on the defensive when these Zerglings pop out. We're going to see how Moonglade's going to be able to act with these individual Zerglings.
Yeah, you don't need as much gas for roaches at only 25 gas per roach. It's not that expensive, so he could end up going the roach route again. We'll kind of have to see what's going on. And I think a drone got sniped in the mineral line of Slush, but I guess I was a little bit confused because his drones and his lings combined in the effort, and it was felt like it was a little bit of an overkill, but they got it. And the Roach Warren does go down for Root Slush, so it's going to be the same opening. And then conversely, for Moonglade, we do have some differences from his previous game. There is the Baneling Nest going down as well as Metabolic Speed upgrade. I guess the slight difference is that Slush is also getting the Metabolic Speed upgrade. Now, I can tell you, I actually work with Zergs quite a bit, both in my coaching, but even just in my profession, seeing, conversing with Idra, Machine, Stripecrow, some of these other excellent Zergs out there, that a Roach opening is super strong against a Baneling opening. So what Moonglade has to do, essentially, is find out, okay, I'm going up against a Roach opening, pull back, macro, and then make a later Roach Warren to just kind of go tit for tat with that. Because if you try to do Baneling speed against Roaches, oftentimes it's the Roaches that come out on top.
Yeah, indeed. And we can see that Roaches are being produced as we speak. There are quite a few Roaches out. Zerglings are actually out for Slush. So Slush, I'm not sure why he got the Zerglings completely, but the Roaches are definitely going to be the more defensive units. He needs to get those up to be able to defend against the Banelings. They're going to be morphing in immediately. Actually, canceled.
And that's it. Okay, so he saw the Roach Warren. We had a speed ling scout up the base. You see the Roaches. The Banelings aren't good against him. They don't do damage to him, and they get sniped by him pretty quick. So if he tried to do any kind of Baneling bust, especially with this fantastic positioning by Slush, I mean, if you look, his Queen is even sealing that hole at the top, as well as Roaches. So there is actually no chance in hell Banelings do damage here. And Moonglade, very much so on top of his game, falls back.
Ooh,
and like I said, he's droning up right now. He expanded, so there's that macro, and I anticipate a Roach Warren pretty soon.
I like this a lot. He thinks that there's going to be pressure because, hey, I just saw a baneling's nest in your base before, right here. Slush was able to catch this, so he thinks that banelings are going to be coming. But alas, they aren't. Now he's going to overproduce in roaches, and doing that, he either needs to counterattack or expand for himself, but I don't know what he can do. With the speed of these Zerglings, they're really efficient at being able to threaten that counterattack. So Slush has to be very careful and play a lot more passive.
Yeah, he's going to expand. Taking your advice, sir. He cannot hear us that we know of. It could be some kind of spy or something like that. Maybe he does. Oh, moving in to cancel the hatchery. Very nice move by Moonglade, and he does force the cancel. So for the cost of a few lings, he gets the cancel on that hatchery. Not the biggest deal. I mean, if he snipes it, okay, if he kills that, and Slush, gets a little bit cocky and tries to keep it without canceling, then that's a huge moment in the game. But as is, I feel like it's not bad. I mean, you do lose some money for canceling it, but he also lost some lings, so a bit of just kind of a trade there, I would say. It does delay the macro, I suppose. Now, Slush is moving out. He's running by with lings, and I'm not entirely sure Moonglade saw this. He has to have had seen it now. But these lings have a little bit of free reign, and here we go. Slush is entering Moonglade's base, going into that main. There is not the SimCity. And they get the surround on the Queen, and this Queen's going to go down in rapid succession. And now it's the drones left alone with these lings, but they are being aided by the lings now, and some roaches pull out. But Slush is making a go at this. And here we go. You can see on that mini-map, roaches are coming down.
To back up. Yeah, he needs to just wait for these roaches to come. There are a ton of roaches, and I love what these Zerglings did. It basically said, hey, get your Zerglings back or else my Zerglings are going to kill you. And now it makes room for these roaches. They're going to start engaging, and it looks like Slush has the better advantage with a lot more roaches. Going to be able to clean up all the Zerglings. Slush does come on top with the Zerglings. However, I think he has way too many roaches. Now, Slush just pours in a couple more Zerglings, and he's going to be able to get into position to do damage on this
16 lings about to come out, though. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be enough to shift the tides of the battle. They do add some confusion there, but excellent micro from Slush. Now, Slush has to focus here. He's actually diversifying his army. His lings were fighting that hatchery a little bit. And here we go. They're going to move in and try to surround those roaches. Again, excellent micro from both players. But it might just be a question of too many. Slush now pushing forward. Still has the superior roach count, but is now being outnumbered by the lings and is forced to retreat a little bit here. And they're trying to get surrounded. But just a trade-off of roach and ling.
Indeed, Moonglade, it does look like he's going to be able to hold that off. The reinforcements not able to get there in time. You can see on the income tab, both of them actually even with the amount of harvesters, so they're on the same foot, but we do see that Slush has an extra roach in the unit counting station.
Banelings are being made. I like
28 Zerglings, but Banelings can be an excellent counter to any form of mass Zergling.
Yeah, they counted the ling really good, really well, excuse me. I am an educated man, and here we go, and the Banelings, oh, they don't get the hits they need! Oh! At all. They do not get the hits they need at all, and I think that's a huge miscue by Moonglade. And now those lings are going for the surround on those roaches from Moonglade. They're not quite getting it, and there it is. Okay, they get 1 and 2, and wow.
The last
Slush is now in the mineral line, and that's it. That's going to be GG. There's no coming back from that. Once those drones are pulled off and fighting, and there it is, the GG. So wow, Slush ties up the series 1-1, or I think it's zeros. What I meant to say is series. And holy cow, Slush.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that play. Slush was able to just take so much position. He couldn't push out if he just went straight roaches. If he went roach, no way he could push out, because those Zerglings would have killed either a lot of drones or been able to kill the roaches, depending on how many roaches he pushed out.
Yeah.
But him just sneaking past with a couple of Zerglings, not a ton, just a couple of Zerglings, he was able to get a lot of position, forced the aggressive Zerglings back to be a more defensive type of units, and then able to get all that room for the roaches to push through, and ultimately get a really nice advantage to win him the game.
Yeah, and good for him to do that too. It's funny that the expansion kind of like triggered the aggression. Like he expanded, but it didn't even finish, and he's like, now it's time to go attack. I mean, but again, good for him to recognize kind of the opening for that. I mean, Moonglade got caught with his pants down a little bit. He had the faster hatchery. He definitely had more lings, but the lings were getting caught being a little bit too cutesy around Slush. Slush went for the counter, pulled those lings back, distracted Moonglade long enough And then with the superior roach number, from there, it was just kind of a matter of continually getting the upper hand with the exchanges. I like the Banelings. I mean, that has to be limelighted here a little bit.
But he wasn't able to get hit.
Well, I mean, he made the right call. But and you know what? It wasn't even... I mean, unfortunately for Moonglade, it wasn't Slush's brilliant micro. He did not target down the Banelings. They were just miscued. They just kind of misfired. And one good Baneling detonating on, 20 Zerglings can turn the tide of a war. But equally so, bad Banelings getting off on roaches, not good.
Not good at all. So we're going to be moving into game number 3 of this series. Root Slush is 1-1 against FXO Moonglade. We have it all set up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and get into the game.
All right, and that's the countdown. We're underway. So this is game number 3 between Root Slush, FXO Moonglade. The map is Metalopolis, and the winner of this wins the series. There is no way of sudden death or anything like that. So get up on your feet or put your hands in the air or something if you're a Root Slush fan or FXO Moonglade, because they need this win. We're going to go ahead and introduce the players. In the top right-hand corner, we'll call it the 3 o'clock position, is the Orange Zerg. It is Root Slush from Team Root. Check them out at root-gaming.com, and a fantastic North American team led by the ever-so-interesting Root Cats. And then in the left-hand corner, I guess we'll call it 9 o'clock. It's more like 8 o'clock, but you know what? I'm not going to split too many hairs about this. We do have the Australian, good day, mate, FXO Moonglade, the hero from down under. A fantastic Zerg player. He's currently residing in Korea, chasing the dreams of StarCraft 2 famedom. I just made that word up. Suck it, Trebek.
Suck it, Trebek.
Okay, so the map is Metalopolis. We are cross-map positions, and that's nice. A little bit of a breath of fresh air for me. Close positions, okay, it is a function of the game. I understand that. We talked about this in the pregame show. It is a reality players have to kind of deal with. But be that as it may, I love macro games, Greetorp. I'm kind of old school that way.
Yeah. Well, it might be a little bit easier to get a macro game out of this because we do have the ramp feature that we didn't really see in the last match, Tal'Darim Altar. However, the expansion is extremely open, and that can lead to a lot of tricky little play in the beginning. But cross-map, it doesn't make roaches as potent for attacking, so we might be seeing more of a Zergling, Baneling type of opening for both these players. We can see Moonglade and Slush alike are going the same builds we saw before. Slush favoring the slightly later gas, and Moonglade favoring the very fast metabolic boost.
He loves that instant metabolic, yeah. Like the second that spawning pool finishes, he'll have his drones off the gas, he'll have 100 gas, and he, boom, starts that metabolic speed upgrade right away. And I gotta say, I like his ideology with that. I really do like the speedling utility. It's good against roaches. It's okay against everything else. I mean, it is at danger of super fast banelings, but even that, it is manageable as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there might be 17 professional Zergs out there shaking their heads saying, "Hey, Control, you don't know what you're talking about." But I do. I promise. I have a fairly good idea. Roach Warren does go down for Root Slush, very, very similar to what he's done in the past 2 previous ZVZs against Moonglade. And I mean, just attention to detail. Really like the positioning of his buildings. They're kind of sealing up that mineral line, good against any kind of Baneling bust. FXO Moonglade taking a very much so common path for him. Again, the Speedling opening. This time residing at the top of the ramp, not too much scouting. We do have a pair of Zerglings making their way to 12 o'clock to kind of get an idea, and conversely, Slush is scattering his Zerglings around to kind of get an idea of what's going on as well.
Yeah, both these players actually don't know where they are just yet. They know they've crossed
look at this queen
in the middle.
What is she doing? Queen, you can't get out of there. You're not going to get that Overlord. What are you doing? She's going to go after it.
What?
I feel like this is a... Okay. This has to be a mistake.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he's doing this. I mean, this queen needs to be injecting larvae, and that would be like such a huge...
the worst race I've ever watched in my life.
He's getting actually a second queen. Very interesting.
Yeah, but look at this. This is the worst race I've ever watched in my life.
It's the tortoise and the tortoise, sir.
It's like a police speed chase, but one of the policemen is not running, and the other guy is not either.
Oh.
So I didn't need to use that analogy at all.
Eloquent.
I guess I like the municipal services. So the Overlord does die. And the Queen is so happy about that.
Indeed. And we can see that he's just trying to, I guess, gain a little bit of map control, I think, with it.
Okay.
I mean, that one queen going all the way out there, he got it really, his second queen, extremely fast. So he just wanted to make sure.
I'm my PR guy. You're turning a frown upside down right now. That was actually silly.
You don't like it?
Overlord's not that big of a deal.
Oh, it is. You just don't know.
If he's doing some cheese behind that, I mean, okay, he has expanded, so perhaps he's doing everything he possibly can to hide that. I understand. Now Slush, I guess it's worth noting, has a super fast range upgrade going down, and has actually pulled his drones off the gas. So this is kind of a weird timing, because I feel like now he's going to expand. He's hovering around 300 minerals. He does have the roaches on that ramp, but that's a really fast +1.
Yeah, the +1's going to be very helpful. You actually two-shot Zerglings with the +1 upgrade with the roaches. So I think he's going to prepare for timing. I can't see him just getting the +1 and being like, all right, we're good. He has to be preparing for this timing. And we can see in the back, Slush is actually getting a good amount of Zerglings. Oh, again, a cancel. Did go down for Slush, and Moonglade is doing really nice harass in keeping Slush at bay.
Yeah, he loves that execution. And Moonglade has actually, he's got his own Roach Warren up. He's retaken the gas at his main. Is macroing up a little bit. We do have some drones coming out. He is sitting behind 2 spine crawlers, which are about to reach completion here in a moment. And that +1 range attack is about to finish for Slush. He's producing a lot of Zerglings, so I feel like this is going to be like almost a slow push, if you will. These roaches should start to make their journey across the map, but now I'm kind of complicated by this time because the roaches actually aren't, and there are lots of lanes being produced. I don't know. I guess I'm getting locked up here a little bit because I feel like this. If you're doing any kind of timing with that +1, you would have started them walking across there, but he's really not. He's making a lot of links, though, so we'll see.
Kind of wondering what he's doing.
Moonglade's in fantastic position. I feel like this timing might be really problematic. I mean, yes, the +1 is a big deal, but spine crawlers, defensive posture with this concave, and good production from Moonglade. He's had this hatchery faster. Should be pretty strong. I mean, okay, so here we go. Slush is starting that kind of slow push across the map. If you look at the production tab, now see, I don't like this. He's making drones. So perhaps he's doing kind of a posture thing, almost moving out to freak out his opponent.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he's going and making drones right now. It doesn't make sense to do all this aggression and then say, okay, I'm not going to follow up if I have the advantage or if I have a timing to. And it's going to let the reproduction of units to be able to take over for Moonglade. Moonglade does have the second queen up, so he has extra larvae, now getting a Baneling's Nest. He's looking extremely good defensively, and especially with these roaches here, I don't know what Slush can do. I think he's playing this extremely off right now.
I think it's just a poke. I mean, if it's just a poke, it's okay. I think it's risky, because in that time, I know he's hoping to make Moonglade make units, and he certainly did get that reaction. But sometimes with that reaction comes the interaction of, of the units the guy makes attacking you, and Slush had no reinforcements coming out. So a bit of a gamble, but I feel like it went his way. I mean, in that time, he was droning the whole time, and Moonglade was actually making Zerglings. So kudos to Slush, getting the reaction he wanted. I mean, he's still, if you look at the income tab, he's still down 6 Harvesters, and in a mirror matchup, that's critical. Now, 5 did just pop out, so he's 4 or 5, actually. So, and now they're equal in Harvester count, so I guess that's okay in that sense. A little bit of window of opportunity for Moonglade to have kind of utilized that economy better. He has +1 range attack being initiated now, and I think he started a lair. He did start the lair in the main, and is also building lots of drones. We actually have 11 drones completing right now.
So Slush is a little bit ahead, though, in the lair tech. He has finished it already. Going to be able to pump out that glial reconstitution. There it goes. It's going to give him the ability to get his concave and also scale with, let's say, Zerglings. Scale with Zerglings with his roaches to be able to just, go ahead and expand again or whatever he needs to do to catch them at least. And now throwing down the fourth gas, whereas Moonglade is right on key with Slush.
And okay, one thing to look at here. Look at this Overlord spread from Slush. They're everywhere. Every path on this map is picked out. So it might have looked weird to the layman to see. Moonglade Zerglings move out to check on that third timing, see if it exists or has been started. And for Slush to move out and immediately intercept them, I mean, that's just a tribute to how good of a job Slush is doing at spotting out every corner of this map. All the expansions are scouted. This third up here, the 12 o'clock. I mean, not all of them, literally. But all the ones that at least would be taken at this time.
Indeed.
Would like to see actually a little bit more. He does have kind of a conglomeration. Actually, I'm going to stick away from that word because that one I'm not prepared to defend.
We can see Infestation Pit is up right now. The Pathogen Glands is being upgraded, so we're going to see very fast Infestor play coming out from Slush. Slush is looking to be a little tech-heavy right now. He's not going to have a ton of roaches, and he's actually going to look like he wants to posture just a bit here. Just going to push out, making sure that he's keeping his opponent on his toes. But we see a ton of roaches and ton of Zerglings here.
Okay, so we actually, the unit count is fairly similar, actually, which is interesting. 24, 25 roaches for Slush, about 30 for Moonglade. He does have the Baneling, but I'll tell you, the Infestor is the X factor. That fungal growth is so powerful.
Yeah, now that it got buffed, it does deal 47 damage to these roaches, so they do deal a lot of damage without a doubt, and they're able to immobilize those individual roaches. So now the Infestors are out. I really like this play. Actually, Contamination going off on that Infestation Pit, so really nice play. Was able to get in there and see exactly what's going on with this Overseer.
Look at the time on it, too. Stops the last second of it. That's just painful. No real impact on the game, but a hindrance.
Yeah, both these players just suiting up to go ahead and expand yet again. I like Moonglade's choice to get it a bit earlier. He was able to do that because he didn't get that Infestation Pit. Didn't have to get so many units to be able to compensate for, the inevitable Slush army. And now we can see Zerglings moving in here, but they're going to be backed off very fast.
Both players had the same idea in mind, but I think Slush is better prepared. So Zerglings moving up to 12 o'clock, trying to cancel out that third base. Will they get it? Those fast Zerglings are out of position. The Roach is moving up pretty quick, but I think this hatchery will go down, and it does collapse.
Yep. And
now there will be no Zergling survivors for Slush, so it's kind of a question of how you like that trade, and I think I favor the hatchery being killed. Now, is Moonglade going to spurn to action? And I gotta say, it's looking good.
He has to. Right now, he is max. He has 196 supply, so he can't get any more. His units are as upgraded as they can be right now with +2 attack. We're going to see how good Slush is with this Infestor micro, as he needs to get some important fungal growths to be able to defend against this, as he's only sitting at 100.
Big fungal growth. Holy cow. Now, Moonglade does have the numbers. He wants to get that concave, though. Another huge fungal goes down.
And a third fungal growth
and
goes
this concave and production from Slush is looking to be too much. And Moonglade's got to tuck tail and run here, and that was a huge exchange. Moonglade is now down in supply at 145 versus the 160, never mind, the 176 of Slush. So with that third being saturated as we speak, and the winning victory going to Slush in that fight, as well as the tech advantage. I gotta say, Infestors gaining that mana as we speak and being just out on the field doing that area of effect damage and that ensnare ability is huge. Yeah. And Slush knows it. He's moving out.
Attacking into that position was a huge blunder. Now we can see, because of the retention of all of these roaches, he's going to be on the counterattack now. And I don't think Moonglade has any response to this type of Infestor play. He's going to be moving up to this third, denying this third from Moonglade.
He is getting Burrow, and he is getting Tunneling Claws, and as far as I can tell, I'm going to check the unit tab real quick, I think there are no Overseers.
Oh, hold on. And now huge fungal growths are going to be able to go up. These roaches are exchanging. It does look like Moonglade has the better concave, but all these roaches from Moonglade are badly damaged, and we see Slush is just muscling through these units. It does look like he's going to be coming on top in this individual battle as he has a lot more roaches. Now reinforcements are going to be able to come in here, take a decisive advantage.
There
it
is.
GG.
Wow, and I really feel like it came down to a couple of snap calls, snap judgments. It was the third base being canceled out by Slush, running in there with his lings, killing it. And what was happening simultaneously that people need to pay attention to was Moonglade was trying to do the same thing, but Slush had his roaches in the proper position to thwart that for no cost. Killed his third, and Moonglade, it's like kicking a bee's nest. He's like, oh, well, you lost all his lings, I got to attack now.
Well, what it came down to was a couple things. His Overlord positioning was superior, so he saw the Zerglings coming down, whereas Moonglade had no way to know that he was under attack until it was too late. So the big thing in that match was definitely the Overlord placement. Because of that, Slush was able to play a lot more accurately. He was able to parry that one attack and then go ahead and kill that one hatchery. And then Moonglade decided to counterattack. He was up by 30 supply. However, the biggest problem was where he attacked into. Attacking into that little choke, that little ramp, he was able to get beautiful fungal growths off. And I think because they were...
And you hear that term all the time.
In a great concave.
Yes.
And I think if he attacked in the natural, where it was a little bit more open, he would have had a better chance. I'm not sure if he would have won that, but still, I think he would have had a much better chance at winning that battle.
I mean, and that's actually such a huge point for our Zerg players at home. Please look to that game. There were some huge examples of what's really important for Zerg in their gameplay. Concave, moving up that ramp, he had the superior force. He had the same upgrades. By all rights, he should have won, but Slush, with that positioning, was able to come out on top, and the tech advantage. Those infestors doing an area of effect fungal growth, which has fairly good DPS, but more importantly, a positional ability to stop units from progressing forward and getting in range, is so tremendously important. So a couple of really important facets were executed there, and to high, I mean, kudos to Slush, and I know I've said kudos like 4 times, but man, I got to tip my proverbial hat to that guy several times. I mean, he lost that first game pretty handily. I mean, I know there was a disconnect, but let's face it, he was dead. He was pretty rocked in all facets of the game. But to come back with some good timing in that second game, and then strong macro play in the third game. I mean, we were pretty critical of the fact that he moved out, wasn't reinforcing that army at the very beginning. But what it was in fact doing was forcing the other Zerg player, Moonglade, to make units instead of making drones. And in that time, Slush was making drones. So kind of a larva management choice. Yeah. Good execution on the third and great positioning wins him the series.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit at the disadvantage in that beginning. But he showed that he knows how to get back into the game, knows to be a little bit risky, and the Infestor play did come out to prove very strong. So that is going to do it for match number 2. We are going directly into match number 3.